Coming up on this Eagle Eye Focus Sports Talk podcast with me, your host, Louis DB.
We'll be reviewing the Eagles vs. Patriots preseason game and giving an update on our preseason fantasy here on Eagle Eye Focus.
Alright, so today, by the way, welcome to the podcast. A recap of the first Philadelphia Eagles preseason game last night against the New England Patriots. The Eagles lost 31-22, the final score, but a lot of good stuff coming from the offense. And the defense in an up-and-down performance. The starters gave up 2 scoring drives, which is never a good sign, but it's the Chip Kelly era. Has begun, and it's a lot of good stuff. Football is back in Philadelphia, and we got a lot to kick into right now. So we're going to start off with the offense, where the first drive, obviously Tom Brady drove down the field and scored a touchdown. Ridley broke off a 62-yard run. I'll go to the defense first. This was difficult to watch, honestly. It's a transition to defense, though. Billy Davis has his work. Tackling just was not good. Bradley Fletcher really gave up a lot of receptions, as well as he had some good tackles. Him and Patrick Chung were the only really guys that were really good. Connor Barwin and Isaac Sopoaga struggled, but the new players, everyone's got to take time to gel. And Brady drove down the field and scored a touchdown, all on running plays. But it wasn't a bad performance. Brandon Boykin played very well as Patrick Chung. Then on the offensive side of the ball, Michael Vick gets his first 2 drives. His first drive, he marched right down the field. I noticed throughout the whole entire game, the Eagles ran all read options, except for, I believe, like one play where they went under center. Michael Vick hit a 47-yard bomb to Deshaun Jackson for the touchdown after hitting Jason Avant as well for a big gain. Mike Vick looked huge. He looked very comfortable in the offense. The offensive line did terrific protecting him. Lane Johnson looked very good in this game, as well as Alan Barb protecting him and Nick Foles. So Vick had 2 series. He finished 4 for 5 with 94 yards and a touchdown to no interceptions. Good thing about all the quarterbacks, no turnovers whatsoever. So that was a great drive. They tied it up at 7-7. Then the Patriots came right back down the field throwing the football. Again, DeMeco Ryan said there's nothing to worry about in his press conference, but they really struggled to tackle. DeMeco Ryan, Michael Kendricks gave up a fade. He was great on coverage against Shane Vereen, and Tom Brady just made a perfect pass, hitting Vereen in the end zone to put him up 14-7. That was it for the first team. But Fletcher Cox, I saw really good stuff from him. He rushed the passer, hit Tom Brady to the ground. He was very good in that sense. He was very good pass rushing wise. Which is good. You always want to see the pressure. And another guy that really showed up in the second quarter with the second team coming out was Vinny Curry. Vinny Curry was terrific. Sammy, if you can pull up some Vinny Curry's stats, he was really good. I believe he had a half a sack. He went with Damian Square, who by the way looks really good. Curry's been lining up as a 3-4 defensive end, and he bulked up. He looked great yesterday. He had a bunch of tackles. Sammy, what did Vinny Curry have?
He had a .5 sack.
Yeah, he had a half a sack.
So, that's it.
And how many tackles?
1. And he had an assistive tackle, too.
Okay, so he looked really good. He was really run-stopping. Him and another guy that I really looked out was Damian Square, the 3-4 defensive end opposite. And also he played a lot of nose tackle, and Isaac Sopoaga played. Though my MVPs were those 3 defensive ends: Benny Logan, Vinny Curry, who Benny Logan also had the half a sack with Vinny Curry. Those 3 did terrific. But let's go to the next drive when Nick Foles came out. He had a turnover. He fumbled the football and got hit pretty hard, which was not good. And the Patriots came, but the Eagles got a 3-and-out. They didn't let any points off. Casey Matthews had a very good game, tackling-wise, on special teams and on defense. And then he had an injury. We don't know it's not that serious of an injury. But Nick Foles came right back and drove right down the field. Had a 66-yard touchdown drive where he was really what I noticed between him and Vic was Foles was running a faster, tight offense. Foles did it terrifically. He manned it great, hitting Bryce Brown and Jason Avant for big gains. Also breaking a 11-yard run, showing some of his speed off. It wasn't off of a read option play, but he looked really good. They ran read option with everyone. They ran it with all 4 quarterbacks, including Gigi Kenny, so I'll say 5. Yeah, the read option is really a piece of this offense no matter who's at quarterback. Even Matt Barkley pulled one and got 10 yards. So it was really cool to see what Chip Kelly did offensively, but defensively, Billy Davis and that team have a long way to go. Tom Brady finished with 7 for 8, 65 yards, and a touchdown. Really, really, really good stuff from Tom Brady, but you can expect that from him. Nick Foles finished with, I believe he finished 5 for 6, 43 yards, no touchdowns but no interceptions after he led it, and then Bryce Brown punched it in for the touchdown. Bryce Brown did not start the game, Chris Polk did, but Brown finished with a touchdown, some over 20 yards receiving and also 20 yards rushing. So a very good game from him in the limited amount of time he played. Very fast-paced offense. The offensive line, again, looked terrific. One thing I noticed a lot with the first team is Zach Ertz was lining up a lot in the slot with Cooper and Deshaun on the outside, and as Selleck was in the backfield. That's what I noticed, but one thing I did see as well is there was no James Casey. James Casey had 1 reception for 7 yards. He played a lot of special teams, but I think they're going to get him more involved at fullback, and they'll line him up in the slot as well, but they were giving Ertz some more looks. As Ertz, I believe, he had 2 catches for 10 yards, so he got that big one from Barkley. The other one was only a 1-yard gain, the other was a 9. So he looked pretty good. He was getting a lot of playing time. So what I can really take away from this offense with the first half, because I'm going to get into the backups where there was more time going on, was really they looked fast-paced, get the ball out quickly. You did not see Vic holding it on. The dropbacks were only like 3 steps, and they're really going to run the football. I think that's one thing they like to do is the run to set up the pass, and that's true, because look what Vic did. He and Chris Polk had 2 successful runs for 5 yards and 4, and then he pulls it in play action and hits Deshaun for a huge touchdown. Chip Kelly has this offense ready, but I'm having a feeling if this defense doesn't get going, I mean, it is only the first preseason game, there's going to be a lot of shootouts in Philadelphia. So there's that with the starters. It finished off 14-14. The first team's actually tied, so that's actually pretty decent. I'll take that win. I'll take that for the Eagles against a really good Patriots team. Also, if you want just a fantasy update off the Eagles, Ridley had 92 yards and a touchdown after a 62-yard run. So if you're scared about him, he looks really good, as well as his backup Shane Vereen and LeGarrette Blount. Who, by the way, let's go to that now. The second team came in. They did a really good job getting 2 3-and-outs, but then LeGarrette Blount breaks a 51-yard touchdown run where he's going to the left, he's rolling to the left. He, by the way, finished with over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, so it's pretty big for him trying to make the roster. There was nothing there. Manuel Acho, by the way, I've called, did a great job blocking up the holes. By the way, I had Manuel Acho, and by the way, a fantasy update, I got creamed by Santai, 56-30 in our first game, so Sammy is 1-0. You can check that out on the preseason fantasy page. If Andy Moma did nothing. No, boo. Play the boo sound. Oh, yeah, he mans the soundboard, so he's a little bit favoritized. Alright. Enough about that. Enough of that hooey and applesauce. Well, let's get moving, shall we? Okay. So, and then LeGarrette Blount just posted to the outside. Good. That's what you deserve. Brandon Graham.
It wasn't towards me.
Brandon Graham had a pretty rough game. Lined up as 3-4 outside linebacker, and I just think that he did really good, as well as Trent. I mean, he didn't do very good. That's what I meant. You're throwing me off with your soundboards. All right.
Yeah.
Trent Colden really you saw some more of on the ground defensive end looks. He also lined up in coverage sometimes, but you didn't really see much from him. As he held his own pretty much. But him and Brandon Graham have a long way to go. Still, they have to pick down the system. And the second team did pretty good, but on the defensive side, they let up over 200 yards of rushing, and almost in this first half. So, and I believe all their touchdowns except for one was a rushing touchdown. So, the good thing was that Vinny Curry is a huge hitter. He took out Ryan Mallett. Him and Damian Square together. He had a concussion. Ryan Mallett would then come out of the game, and guess who comes in? It's Mr. Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow comes in. Yeah, nobody likes Tim Tebow. I think, but he looked pretty good, decent. Sammy, read off Tim Tebow's statistics for me.
He was 4 for 12.
Ugh, terrible completion
And
percentage.
he had 55 yards, 0 touchdowns.
What about running?
4 attempts, 31 yards, 0 touchdowns.
Not bad. So that's 80 yards from the line of scrimmage. Is pretty decent for his first game, I thought. But I thought the Eagles did a really good job at shutting down. The interior was terrific. The problem was the linebackers just had a tough time tackling. Jamar Chaney really might not make this roster. He had 3 missed tackles. Honestly, that Jake Knott, middle linebacker that played in the second half, looked terrific. Jake Knott had 3 tackles and an assist and also a half a sack. He's a middle linebacker that's competing with Jamar Chaney for a roster spot, as well as Emmanuel Acho. He did great in coverage. So I think those two might make the roster with Casey Matthews, and you see Jamar Chaney not make the roster. He's got a long way to go. He can still do well, as there's still 3 preseason games. I'm just trying to do it off of basis of what I saw from yesterday. So then Matt Barkley comes out onto the field, and that's when the Eagles fans really got excited. I mean, every quarterback, this is a great quarterback battle. I think Barkley's very much in this. He started off very, very slow. He was 50% of completion percentage, 103 yards and a touchdown. The touchdown was off a screen to Greg Salas, who was my fantasy stud. He got made up of most of my points.
I still creamed you.
Yeah, haters would be.
I creamed you.
For Sammy. I mean, I think everyone wants me to win, Sammy. I don't think anybody likes you. Oh no, what was that? It was awful.
Rebecca Black.
She has a lovely singing voice. But anyway, Matt Barkley looked very good in the offense. He literally, honestly, he almost had every read option play. He honestly said in the locker room that he felt more comfortable when they were doing no huddle compared to huddle. I guess he's used to. He said he's really a example of the system type player, where he really is just more comfortable in what he's been coached now. He had one read option play where he pulled and got 8 yards. So showing Matt Barkley's speed, honestly, anybody can run the read option because they did a lot of read option. Same time, stop being. Why don't you just be quiet? I'm trying to do a recap. All right. So Barkley, anyone can do it because you saw him and Foles and Vic. None of them. Vic didn't run, but those two did. But Foles' run was not off of a read option. A lot of what you saw was pulling, but at the same time as a play action, they were throwing it after the read option pull. So that's pretty interesting, I thought. So I thought Matt Barkley looked very good. He in the first half he started off rough with a bunch of 3 and outs, but then in the second half came right down the field, went 5 for 5 for over 50 yards, and in the red zone hit Greg Salas for a screen pass, and I really saw that he broke down the coverage and made a great play call. Chip Kelly did some really good play calling in the game, except for in the end, but I'll get into that later. You can really appreciate what long snapper John Dorenbos does. Now, I mean, a lot of people don't know what he did. He got hurt, he had a concussion, he was out for the game. John Dorenbos is, I mean, by far one of the most important players on that special teams. He is to me.
Just need to catch my breath. Christmas by myself this year.
Sam Ty, you're fired. Get out of here. What is this? This is one of the biggest shows. The Eagles are on, and you're playing Miranda Cosgrove. All right. So let's get back to it. John Dorenbos, Brent Selleck comes in and totally whiffs on the play. I mean, you can't just expect a veteran tight end to do that. And Donnie Jones fumbles the kick, fumbles the hold, and they don't get the field goal. Dorenbos, we don't know the length of the injuries. Hope Chip Kelly said in the press conference he's going to talk with the trainers and see when he'll be ready, but you don't want to rush him back. One of the most important players on this team, honestly, and he's a long snapper, so people are like, who cares about that? But I mean, he's a real important piece of this offense. I mean, special teams. So let's heading into the second half, I believe. Let me just check real quick. At the end of the half, it was 24-14. The Eagles finished. You know, Sam, I'm doing all the work here. What do you have to say?
Shut up!
All right. So it was 24-14. It looked okay. Ryan Mallett did some good things, but the Eagles' defense just really struggled. And I think Billy Davis said in the press conference he's going to get the tackling down. I think it's a product of not tackling in training camp that's really affected them. But obviously they know how to tackle there in the NFL. A quick spotlight on the 3 guys. I talked about Trent Cole and Brandon Graham, but also a guy I completely forgot was on the roster, Philip Hunt, is trying to switch to outside linebacker as well. He was number 56 on the field. He had a forced fumble and a pretty big hit on the running back, and he looked very good. It looked like he put on some weight, but he's a 4-3 defensive end that's now converting, so he's looking to lose some weight. He said in a press conference. But he looked very good. I thought they all held their own for now, except for Brandon Graham, who struggled a bit. Except for on special teams, he did great. So it was a good start for it was a up and down start for the defense, but a great start for the offense. Um, Really, you saw some good things from all the running backs. Felix Jones had over 31 yards rushing. Matthew Tucker had 33, and also had a 2-point conversion catch from Matt Barkley when they went for 2 because they didn't want to snap the ball at field goals with Brent Selleck because they didn't have John Dorenbos. So that was that. By the way, I just want to say, Riley Cooper haters, he finished with 1 catch for 19 yards. A really great reception. I don't know if I thought he looked pretty solid. I thought. He's going to be a big part of this offense, as well as Jason Avant, who had the best receiving game out of everyone, arguably, since Deshaun Jackson had the 1 catch for 47 yards and a touchdown. Jason Avant finished with, I believe, 3 or 4 receptions. How many receptions did he finish with, Sammy? Jason Avant, give me his statistics.
3 receptions, 42 yards, and
Great.
0 touchdowns.
So that's really good. I really like that from him. I think he's going to be a huge piece. He can also play on the outside. Oh my God. I think that. This is the one thing that really, this bugs me. Ifeanyi Moma is 6'8". I'm gonna say it every podcast until he leaves it. And he had a really bad game. He finished with no catches, and he could not create separation at all. He had 2 targets, both dropped. One was right in his hands, and then he also had a false start, which normally doesn't happen with receivers. So a rough start for him, but really all the rookies had a tough time. Russell Shepard was targeted 5 times by Barkley, but only finished with 1 catch for 4 yards. So he still got a long way, but I think right now those 2 were the favorites for that last spot. Right now, Greg Celeste jumped right in front of them, and I think he's the leader right now as the possession receiver for that 5th spot, personally in my opinion. When you finish with a touchdown and that one-handed leap at the end of the game from G.J. Kenny was incredible. I thought he was really good. He's got really good size. Sammy, what did Greg Celeste finish with? His total stats. He had a great game.
3 receptions, 54 yards, and 1 touchdown.
And what was his long?
35.
So, and that was that pass from G.J. Kenny. Terrific. So I think that he did very well, but Moma and Shepard got to step up, especially Moma, because I think Shepard has looked great in training camp so far, and I think he's still right next to Celeste for that last spot. But Moma, I don't know. I think he's maybe a practice squad guy, or he'll jump on with another team if he doesn't start stepping up. But you saw some really good things from all 3 quarterbacks. I think Barkley really made some improvements. I really like how this offense looks. I feel like I hope Michael Vick wins, but I'm comfortable with Foles or Barkley as a starter. I was just worried about how this offense would work with a non-mobile guy. Chip Kelly's shown he can do it with Barkley and Foles. I shouldn't say they're not mobile because they can run if they need to. I'm just saying, like a Michael Vick or Dennis Dixon type player where they have just this electric talent that most players in the NFL don't have at the quarterback position, even though now they really are. Agreed, Sammy, with Cam Newton, RG3, and all those guys now, it's becoming a mobile quarterback league.
Yeah.
Obviously, you got Phillip Rivers and those kind of guys still here in the NFL as pocket passers, but so you can go either way, I believe. With that, it was a great game. I really enjoyed it. It's Eagles football. Whenever I've been waiting for this since February, they do finish. They do lose the game, but really some really good stuff also. Jordan Poyer did not get much time, but a guy that impressed me I have on my fantasy team that helped me out was David King. He finished with 3 tackles, really stopped and he had 1 for a loss going after LeGarrette Blount. I really like him. I think he's going to make the team. He'll be a rotational player. We have some really good young interior defensive linemen.
Yeah.
Cedric Thornton did really good. I thought he was impressive. He didn't get a lot of snaps. Benny Logan was stellar. I thought he was terrific. He might beat out Isaac Sopoaga for the starting nose tackle job. That's just my opinion. Or he might beat out Cedric Thornton. I think Cedric Thornton's the favorite to be the 3-4 end opposite Cox, but I think Logan could definitely be there. And then Damian Square comes out of nowhere. I didn't honestly even know about this kid. He's huge, number 77. Sammy, can you pull up Damian Square's statistics on the defense? That'd be good. And also Clinton Geathers got some good playing time. We're going to have a nice rotation there. I'm not really worried. I just want to make sure that Sopoaga can be an impactful player. He struggled, but it's your first game on a brand new offense. You're switching from a 4-3 to a 3-4. It's going to take some time to adjust. So Sam, what did he finish with?
He had a QB rush and a tackle for a loss.
Okay, so that's pretty good.
So,
and when you have production like that, Benny Logan, by the way, finished with 4 tackles and a half a sack. So very good with him as well. One interesting note was Brandon Hughes started at the outside, opposite Bradley Fletcher as Kerry Williams didn't play. So that's interesting. Brandon Boykin, uh, for some reason, lined up in the slot, even though I think he's been their best corner yet. So that's that with him. Brandon Hughes has really impressed me over the years, though. I think he's going to get some really good playing time. Curtis Marsh also looked great. I saw some good things from the younger corners, but the Bradley Fletcher looked pretty good. I mean, I think Chip Kelly said today, which is Sunday, in his press conference that Bradley Fletcher was one of the guys. Him, Damian Square, and Benny Logan really showed up, really widened his eyes during film study, which was today. And which is true, Fletcher, yeah, he led a couple big receptions on, but it was because, I mean, he had really good coverage. It was a great pass by Tom Brady. He finished with around 6 tackles, including chasing down Ridley off that 62-yard run, which showed a little bit of speed. But I think Fletcher looked good as well. Yeah, he did struggle a little bit in some aspects of it, but I thought he did pretty. I thought he held his own. And once Kerry Williams comes back, I mean, because they were really targeting. I thought they were going after Fletcher, but I think with Benny Logan, he's been running with, he ran with the first team today. It was him, Sopoaga, and Fletcher Cox. So I think that Benny Logan really, has made up his mind. But the secondary, it's got some work to do. I think from the safety point, Chung looked terrific. He was tackling all over the field. He was the only guy. He looked really good. But what I didn't like was Nate Allen. He missed a bunch of tackles. And Kenny Phillips, again, today in practice, hurt his knee. He was pretty good, I thought, in coverage. Yeah, I guess.
Bad.
Kenny Phillips looked pretty good, but, again, hurt his knee today. He just can't stay healthy, and I have no confidence in him staying healthy over for the season. But another thing is, too, that you don't want to start Nate Allen, though. If Nate Allen doesn't start at pressing, if he looks mediocre throughout the preseason, you're not starting him even if Phillips isn't healthy. I think then you take a chance on Earl Wolf. That you put, because Earl Wolf looked pretty good. Sam, if you can look up Earl Wolf's stats for the preseason game, he looked pretty solid. His tackling was sound. His man coverage was pretty good. He didn't let up any big receptions, mainly too because he was facing Tim Tebow, but that's not really a big excuse. And then David Sims, I didn't really see him that much. I saw him on special teams, made a couple nice tackles, but he didn't really get that many reps on the defensive side. So, I mean, I think that with Wolf. So what did Earl Wolf have for stats?
He had 2 tackles and 1 assistive tackle.
All right, so
0 sacks.
Yeah, so that's pretty solid. He didn't miss any tackles and was pretty sound when it came to man coverage. So, I mean, I think you take a look at him. I think he's an aggressive player. But I like what Kerry Williams said today about the secondary, about the defense. He said that the Patriots came in practice and was really, like, they were talking trash and had some dirty hits, and he didn't like it. So, which is why he got into a fight with Aaron Dobson and ended up getting kicked out. He says right now nobody fears this defense, and especially after the performance they had in the first game, which I can definitely agree with, which is why I really want to see Kerry Williams get back into practice and into preseason with his grit, but he's been battling that hamstring injury. He really hasn't been able to practice with the Eagles team since really the OTAs in spring. So with that, I mean, they got a long ways to go with a new scheme, but hey, there were some good signs, and I think you can take away some good stuff from it. At the same time, you got to adjust with the bad. I know Chip Kelly and Billy Davis have their work cut off for them, but it's a new scheme. I want to see more from Connor Barwin and Isaac Sopoaga, though. I think they really struggled in those. Sopoaga really, like what Chip Kelly said today in his press conference, was that Sopoaga on the interior line and the first team struggled to clog up holes, and that's what was one of the tough spots, which he's main for. And also Connor Barwin struggled a little bit, but he had some nice tackles. So I mean, there was some good stuff and some bad. I really liked what I saw from Matt Barkley. He was 11 for 22, and I think I already talked about him, but just again, he started off slow, but really got into a groove in the end with that 5 for 5 and a touchdown to Greg Silis. I think he showed off some speed too. I mean, the Eagles are going to do read option no matter who's quarterback. And with Foles was in the read option. I think there was only one play where they were under center, which means everything was out of shotgun. It looked exactly like Oregon's offense from last season. Vic didn't run for anything, but Foles had the 11-yard and Barkley had an 8. If you see a lane, they're going to hit it. Barkley actually pulled the read option and gained 8 yards. So I think no matter what, the read option is going to be implemented into the offense. Which kind of says, too, for the other NFL teams, if you have a non-mobile guy or a pocket passer who has some mobile skills, you can run read option with them, too. Because I'm not saying Matt Barkley and Nick Foles are not mobile, because they have some running skills, but they're not Michael Vick, right? I mean, they're not. I don't think even close. So, and then moving up from Barkley, Dennis Dixon came in the fourth quarter. He finished 7 for 13, 41 yards, no touchdowns, but also no interceptions. Also had 4 carries for 19 yards. So with him, I thought it was a little bit of being too conservative. I know he's one of my favorite players on the team, and I've been earlier saying that he should make the roster, but or at least be the starter. But I just felt like he was being too conservative. He did have some big first down pickups late when they were trying to no huddle and they were trying to get a groove on and get down to the end zone, which he couldn't do. But I mean, there were some drop passes. He ran the offense very sound. He got the team up quickly and moving. He got the 2 runs for first downs, also hitting some tight end screens. I thought he manned it good, but again, I want to see him take some chances downfield because that's the only way he's gonna even come close to winning a job on this roster, which I think right now is very slim to no chance of happening with Barkley and Foles and Vick all looking terrific. It just says that Dixon really there's no room for him unless they put him on practice squad eligibility. Unless, of course, they trade Vick or Foles if they don't win the job, which I don't think is happening. And then G.J. Kenny came in, 2 for 2, 60 yards, was actually better. He had more stats with Dixon. He had 5 less completions. He had the one big bomb to Nick Miller for 25 yards. Then he throws a 30-yard dart. Another huge, over a 40-yard pass to Greg Salas for a huge one-handed catch. So Kenny got a couple reps there with the last couple seconds remaining. He looked actually really good. I thought he made 2 nice passes, but I think the team is set with who they have, unless a meltdown happens or an injury, of course, which you can always prepare for, which is why you can't have enough quarterbacks on your roster. So a lot of things to come from it. So it's really good stuff from the special teams as well. I think no matter what, the special teams returning-wise is going to be really good. Brandon Boykin had a really nice run that got up to the 25 on his one kickoff return. Demarcus Johnson looked terrific on punt returns. Had that one he had a 40-yard punt return that almost took it to the house. He just couldn't beat out the punter. So a lot of people think that Deshaun Jackson is going to be the punt returner, but Demarcus Johnson is just as good. I thought I think no matter what, they're in good hands. He looked terrific. And as well as kick returning, Demarcus Johnson looked really, really good. I'm not sure exactly what his stats were, but he had. Sammy, what did Demarcus Johnson have for his one kick return? If you can get at least 50, I mean, it wasn't terrific, but this is some of the one you want to get. What do you get on that?
Actually, Boykin had 33 yards.
All right, so that's even better.
And Demarcus Johnson had 1 for 19.
Okay, so that's not bad. And then his one big punt return was for over almost like 35 to 40 yards. So special teams was great. I thought the first play of the game, Brandon Graham nailed the kick returner back to the 17-yard line. So they're even putting some defensive linemen out there, and they really rotated a lot of people. You saw Russell Shepard back there, who didn't get any returns though. Jordan Poyer took 1 punt return for 4 yards. I didn't see a lot of Poyer, like I already said, and I hope that they really put him in more. And also Paul Kruger. I don't think he was out there at all. I didn't see him. Mainly, I mean, they ran a lot of different sets, so he doesn't fit in all the schemes. I thought they ran a lot of 3-4, but you still saw, like they said, it's going to be a hybrid. They ran some 4-3, also some, I mean, they really had, like sometimes they had some 5 guys in the line. So there's some good stuff on the defensive side, but again, you just got to get tackling, and I think they're going to work on that all practice and get ready for Carolina next week, and they'll have a big task trying to stop Cam Newton for a couple of drives. And hopefully the offense can continue off where they left off. I think for the quarterback battle, I'm going to say who won. I think round 1 goes to Michael Vick. I thought
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, 94 yards and a score, and the touchdown was huge. He really held his own. He got the ball out quickly. Ran more of a slow-paced offense compared to Foles, but Foles had a turnover, but he ran a great drive the next play, and I think he ran more of a Chip Kelly type of offense. I think Vick ran the read option and stuff, but he didn't. The offense wasn't hurry up, no huddle, get to the line. I thought it was more, slowed down, but I think Vick's your best option to win. If you want to win now, I think him, but still Philadelphia beat writers are saying Foles is the leader. After that, he impressed Chip Kelly as well as Michael Vick, and Matt Barkley could definitely be in this race. I mean, it's every man for themselves. I'm not counting anybody out, not even Dennis Dixon, G.J. Kenny. Sam, what do you think? You think he can win the job?
No.
Good, I agree. So that's the recap for today for the Philadelphia Eagles Week 1 preseason against the Patriots. Again, they fall 31-22. They start off 0-1. They'll go again Thursday against the Carolina Panthers. Hope to see some great defensive stuff there. I'll be posting we'll have the highlights up with the video as well. Some good stuff from the game. Follow me on Twitter at DB Sports Talk for all your Eagles updates. Sam, where can they follow you?
Sammy DB Sports.
For all your NFL updates, and also click below. We have our link to our fantasy Eagles preseason football page. Sammy took game 1. He's 1-0. He won 56-30.
Yep.
Yeah, he had Barkley as starter. I had Dixon. Hopefully there will be more snaps for Dixon next time. But go check that out. We have the updated scores, and updated rosters for that. And we'll see you next time on the Eagle Eye Focus Sports Talk podcast preview for the Panthers game. Fly high.